welcome to week 4 of isolation practice. This is our final video in this little series. And what I want to talk to you about this week is some fishing accuracy. All right? So I've set this little scene up here. The cone is my fish. I'm on a trout stream. I'm fishing upstream. So I've got here, first thing I want to do is take some time to read that fish. How's it feeding? All right? So a fish will quite often move to feed. It'll move out to the right or the left, all right? Might stay deep. It may rise up. It may move out and rise up. When I've got that information, I can then make a judgment call on what sort of fly I want to put on there. So if that fish is moving out and rising to the surface, I want to put a dry fly on there. And it also tells me that's where I want to present that fly, where it's eating that fly. That's where the fly needs to be. So it's no good putting a nymph on and throwing it where the fish is sitting. I want to put a dry on out here where it's rising to. Right? That's my zone. Now at the moment I'm stuck right behind this fish, and maybe that's where I have to cast from. The water's too deep, or I can't get up on the banks or something. I'm stuck here right behind the fish. Not my best preferred position, but I've got to make a cast from here. But I want to change the angle. I want to try and present it so the fish only sees the fly. Right? No line, no leader, just the fly. I just want to put the fly in that zone. And a good cast that we can use for that is a reach mend. All right. So I make a vertical cast here. All right. I get my length out, and then what I do is I change my angle of presentation. So I reach out with that cast, and it puts the line at a different angle. All right. It's a really good cast to practice. Now, if I can move out, I'd rather come out here and cast from that angle like that. I want that sort of angle to the fish, so I'm not casting directly behind it. All right, that way, if I'm casting upstream from that fish and I cast a little bit too long, less chance of spooking the fish, okay? But what this position gives me is it gives me a really good accuracy spot, okay? Now, with accuracy, we've got two different elements. We've got a directional accuracy and we've got a distance accuracy. So my directional accuracy, what I'm doing is watching the rod leg or the bottom leg of that loop unroll, and I want to see it unrolling straight at that target, okay? If my loop's unrolling over here and I'm watching it, if I present there, that's exactly where the fly is going to go. I need to make an adjustment so that loop and that fly is heading directly at that target. With my distance, all right, when I first come out here, I've got to make a judgment call how far that is. And I want to strip off an appropriate amount of line. I don't want a heap of line laying here, all right? I just want enough to reach the target. So then I'm going to start short, and I'm going to, again, I'm watching that loop unroll. I'm watching for that fly to come into my target zone, okay? And we do that by trying to hover the fly. So the fly unrolls and it just holds there for a second, okay? It gives me a really good visual cue that that's the right distance. Now, for fishing, my first cast is my best cast, all right? That's the best chance I've got of catching that fish. Second one's not so good. Third one, I'm getting less percentage of catching that fish. So when I've got that distance set, I don't want to be guessing that again, all right? So what I do, I'll either wind that line up or I'll pinch it, all right? So I'm pinching that distance. So I know that that distance is set. Every cast I make, that distance is set, all right? Now, if I want to make a distance change on that, so the next cast, I want to cast a foot further, all right? So I've made that change now. I've pinched it there. I know that that line, if I straighten it out, it's going to go a foot further up the current, all right? So I've made that change accurately. So that's how I do my distance. Now, the other thing I want to quickly talk about is picking our line up, all right? Now, if I pick this line up, I bring the line back behind the fish, all right? If I pick that up and cast directly back at the fish, I'm going to get some line spray, some water spraying off that line. It's going to impact the water above the fish. It's really dangerous. It's going to put that fish into a state of awareness, all right? It's going to be, oh, what's that? Am I safe to feed? Do I need to get into cover, all right? Or maybe it's just gone. It's all over. So what you want to do is pickup and a direction away from the fish. And I'd prefer roll cast pickup, okay? So roll cast pickup here, away from the fish, all right? That's spraying that water away from the fish. It's not landing anywhere near the fish, all right? So I make my roll cast pickup here, maybe make another false cast. I've got that water off the line, then I'll come back to the fish, and then I'll present to the fish, okay? Now, even if I want to make a fly change, all right? So I've made a few casts. I think the fly's not right. I want to change flies. I'm still going to have that distance set, all right? I'm going to wind up. I'm going to set that distance, change my fly, come back, and I'm going to present the fly. All I've got to do is get my direction all right. My distance is set, all right? Just get the direction right and I'm good. So I'm not changing flies, coming back. Now I've got to try and get my distance right again. Too many things can go wrong, all right? Eliminate some of those things. So that's just a little bit how I think about accuracy casting to a fish, all right? Now, how do we practice all that? Well, we set targets up and we practice. So here I've got some targets set up. I've got directional changes and I've got distance changes, all right? So our two elements of accuracy. And we can practice all those casts that we've done the last few weeks. So offside, horizontal casts, all of them, okay? So I want to cast to this cone here. I'm just going to do an onside vertical cast, and I'm watching that line, that rod leg, and I'm watching that loop, all right? Trying to hover that fly at the target. When I think I'm good, I present the fly, okay? Now I'm going to hit this blue cone, but now I want to do it as a horizontal cast. Now, horizontal plane is a lot harder for accuracy, but it's really worth practicing, especially if you're a trout fisherman. You're going to get under a lot of trees, have to be accurate with that cast, all right? So, same elements. I've got to get my distance right, and I've got to get my direction right, okay? So here, I'm going to try and get this cone here, this blue one, make my stop, and that's pretty close, all right? Now I want to hit this cone over here. Now, a thing with changing directions, we need to be aware of what we call tracking, okay? So tracking is looking from the bird's eye view down on our casting stroke. We want a straight line between our forward cast and back cast, right? So 180 degree straight line, right? Forward cast, back cast. In the horizontal plane, forward cast, back cast. So they must be aligned, okay? If I try and cast out here and out here, so this is like a 90 degree, what's going to happen is I'm going to get that crossed over loop or that crashing loop, all right? I'm going to get all sorts of tangles, I'm going to get knots in my leader. Maybe it gets out there, but it's in a fashion that I'm not controlling. I don't know where it's going to end up, okay? So we want to be aware of that tracking. So what we have to do is change our direction slowly, all right, in small increments. So if I make a pick up here, I've got to make a small change of direction each time till I get to my target. Then I'll get my direction right, my distance right, and I present the fly to the target, okay? One thing I want to introduce you to, and I can only introduce you quickly to it because I don't have, you're not going to sit here and watch a 14-hour video, okay? But spey casting. Man, if you're not spey casting and you're a fisherman, you're not fishing efficiently. Whether it's saltwater, freshwater, spey casting is just the most efficient way to change directions and present the fly, all right? So I want to cast over to this blue cone now. So that's a pretty big change of direction, and I can do that quickly and accurately with a spey cast. So this might be a lake fishing situation. I'm on a trout lake and I'm fishing out here. That's where I think the fish are, but a fish rises over here. I want to get my fly there as quickly and as accurately as I can. Put it into the zone where it's heading to, okay? So I can make a snap sea cast here. So I reposition my fly and then I come around and make my roll cast presentation at that target, all right? Snake roll towards this cone here, okay? So make my adjustment, make my setup. So I've got now my anchor and D-loop at the target, make my roll cast. Now, I know it's on grass and people say you can't do spey casting on grass. Well, get out and try it. You need to understand the element changes from water to grass, all right? And you should be out there on the water, but we can't get to the water at the moment. We're in isolation. We're stuck here in the backyard. But I want to practice my spey cast. I want to practice my layouts, all right? You can do that on grass, okay? So from here, I want to make a single spay to this cone here, right? I know what I've got to do. I've got to make a lift, I've got to make a sweep, and I've got to make a setup here. I've got to get my anchor aligned to that target. I've got to have a nice D-loop positioned in line with that target, and then just my roll cast to the target, right? It's not a long length of line. We're only practicing with 30 or 40 foot of line, all right? So get out there and give it a go, all right? As I said, I can only just touch on some basics, but get in contact with a really good casting instructor. Get into spay casting, all right? It is the most efficient way to fish, all right? Especially if you're changing directions. Now, practice all the casts that we've talked about the last few weeks, all right? So offside vertical, all right? So here I'm going to hit this blue cone here. I've got to do the same things. I've got to get my distance and my direction right, all right? Offside horizontal. Well, hang on, I've got a hazard here. I've got a shed here. So how could I get that casting on my offside? You know, the wind's coming this way now. How can I get that there? Well, I could probably make a roll cast there. Practice your roll cast, all right? On grass, no worries, all right? Things are going to change, but understand why it's changed. What you have to do on grass compared to water. You'll understand a much greater depth, all right? So, look guys, that's it for today, and that's it for these videos. I hope you've enjoyed them. I've got some good feedback. I've enjoyed giving them to you. It's given me something to do in this isolation period. Hopefully, you know, we get back out there fishing, and I hope that with what you've learned and what you've practiced, you catch more fish, because if you're a better caster, you will catch more fish. Thanks for watching. Cheers, guys.